Ever feel like you're kind of stuck? Like no matter what you do, you just bump into the same walls?
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, get ready because today we're going to deep dive into something pretty wild. The idea that reality, like, isn't as fixed as we think.
Hmm. Almost like we can reshape it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a hologram that we can actually adjust.
I like that.
Our source material is this chapter called The Holographic Principle and Metaconsciousness. Breaking free from the illusion. Rewriting your reality with EFT.
Okay, so big question for this deep dive. Can we, like, really change our world just by shifting something inside ourselves?
Right. It's a big one. But, I'm really excited to unpack this.
Good to hear.
I think a lot of people feel both stuck. They try to change their anxiety, their, limiting beliefs, but nothing seems to budge.
It can be so frustrating.
So let's talk about this holographic principle.
Yeah.
What is it exactly?
All right, so it comes from physics, and basically it says that the 3D world we see, the one we live in, could actually be a projection
A projection. Oh,
of a deeper level of information. Imagine like a hologram, right?
okay. Yeah.
You see a 3D image, but all the info to make it is stored on a flat surface.
So our solid reality is more like an image projected from somewhere else? That is wild.
Right.
So can we just think our way into a new reality then?
Well, hold on. It's not quite that simple. It's not like we have total control over everything.
Okay.
But what the source does say is that our thoughts, our beliefs, even our feelings can change how this holographic projection shows up in our lives.
So like a filter. Our inner world is like a filter on how we experience reality.
Exactly. Change the filter, change what you see.
I'm starting to get this.
Yeah.
So where does EFT fit in all of this?
EFT. So EFT is like a tool, almost like editing the code of that holographic projection.
I'm intrigued.
For those who don't know, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Right, and I've heard of it, but could you explain just quickly how it works?
Yeah, so you tap on certain spots on your body, meridian points they're called, while you're focusing on a problem or emotion you want to shift.
It's like acupressure.
Sort of. The idea is that our emotions and our physical body, they're linked through this energy system.
Interesting.
And get this, there's actually a good bit of research on EFT now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It can actually calm the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that handles fear and stress.
Wow.
It even lowers cortisol levels and can actually rewire those pathways in the brain.
So it's not just some woo-woo thing. There's real science behind it.
Right, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
That actually reminds me of this story in the source material about a woman named Lisa. She was this high-powered exec who was, well, feeling totally stuck.
Oh, yeah, I remember Lisa's story. She was stressed, anxious, tried everything she could think of. Nothing worked.
Right. And then she found EFT.
And what happened?
Well, she started using it regularly, and the changes were pretty big. She actually said, and I'm quoting here, "It was like a fog had lifted. New opportunities started appearing. My confidence soared, and for the first time in years, I felt a deep sense of calm."
And all that from changing her internal state? Amazing.
Right. It's like she changed her internal code, and her external world started to shift.
Like adjusting the holographic projection, like we were saying.
Exactly. So it's not about forcing the world to change, but changing something inside that then changes everything.
Yeah, that's the idea.
This is all pretty mind-blowing, I gotta say.
Yeah.
What's really standing out to you so far about this whole holographic principle EFT connection? I gotta admit, it's a little intimidating. Like if our thoughts and feelings have that much power, where do we even start?
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Maybe that's where this tapping script from the source comes in.
Yeah. That's right. Think of it as like a guide, a gentle nudge in the right direction. It uses these specific tapping points with affirmations, and it helps you let go of those old beliefs that might be holding you back.
Okay, so not like, think positive and win the lottery kind of stuff.
No, no, not at all. This is about like going deeper, shifting those patterns that keep us stuck.
Gotcha. So how does it work?
Well, the script starts by acknowledging where you're at right now. It's got these setup statements, like, even though I feel trapped in my current beliefs, I deeply and completely accept myself.
Okay, so it's not about denying how you feel, but sort of like accepting it and moving forward.
Right. You got to start where you are, but you don't have to stay there.
And then the tapping comes in.
Exactly. So after those setup statements, you tap on specific points while saying certain phrases. For example, you might tap on your eyebrow point and say, "I release any resistance to expanding my consciousness."
Wow. So you're tapping on these points and saying these affirmations at the same time.
That's it.
But what's the, what's the point of the tapping? What does that actually do?
It's about creating a shift, an energetic shift.
Yeah.
Remember, EFT is all about the connection between our emotions and our physical energy.
Right, right.
Tapping on those points helps release any blockages and gets the energy flowing again.
Okay, so it's like literally clearing the path.
You got it.
So what are some of the other phrases in the tapping script? I'm curious to hear more.
Let's see. Oh, I choose to let go of any beliefs that limit my potential. And I open myself to new possibilities and opportunities. Stuff like that.
I like that. It's very like positive and proactive. It's not just focusing on what's wrong. It's about shifting towards what you want.
Exactly. And the cool thing is this script is just a starting point. You can tweak it. You can tailor it to whatever you're working on.
So if I'm someone who struggles with, let's say, self-doubt, I could adapt this script to focus on that.
Absolutely. You could change the phrases to be more about releasing that self-doubt and building confidence. So, tapping on your collarbone point while saying, I release all beliefs that I am not good enough. Or I embrace my unique talents and abilities.
Okay, that's powerful. So we're really talking about like taking control, becoming the architects of our own reality, kind of.
That's the idea. But, gotta be honest, part of me is still a little skeptical. How do we really know this works? It's a fair question. And honestly, the best way to know if it works for you is to just try it. The source suggests using the script for at least a week, see what happens, pay attention to your emotions, your thoughts, even your experiences.
So approach it with like an open mind. Don't expect overnight miracles.
Right. And remember, EFT isn't a magic wand. It's a tool. It helps you shift internally, and then, those shifts can show up in your life. But you got to be willing to take action, make choices that support the reality you want.
Right. So it's not about just sitting back and waiting for things to change. It's about actively participating in that change.
Yeah, exactly. And, even if someone isn't totally sold on this holographic principle, EFT is still a really valuable tool for, managing stress, anxiety, even just overcoming limiting beliefs.
Right. Even if you don't buy into the whole hologram thing, you can still benefit from, like, cleaning up your internal code, as you put it.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe once you start seeing those changes, you'll start to think, hey, maybe there's something to this whole reality shifting thing after all.
I like that. It's like, open your mind, try it out, and see what happens.
That's the spirit. This whole topic, it really opens up a new way of looking at things. It makes you wonder what's really possible when we start to understand the connection between our inner and outer worlds.
For sure. This conversation has been, like, mind-blowing. We've talked about reality being more flexible than we think, about changing our internal state to change our experience. It really challenges everything we think we know about how the world works.
Doesn't it? So for everyone listening, if you're ready to try this out, the source mentions a website, tapintourbestself.com, with more resources and even some guided sessions. What's been the most interesting part of this for you?
It's that idea that, like, reality isn't set in stone,
Yeah.
that it's always changing based on what's going on inside us. It makes you think about all those times you felt stuck. Was it really the situation, or was it, us holding ourselves back?
That's a really good question, and it really gets at the heart of what we've been talking about, this potential we all have to change our experiences by changing our thoughts and beliefs and, well, everything that's going on inside.
And what I like about EFT is that it's not just like a theory. It's something you can actually do, something tangible to help you make those changes.
Absolutely. And even if you're not 100% on board with this whole holographic principle thing, there's so much evidence now that EFT really works.
Yeah, we talked about the amygdala and cortisol, but I read that it can even change brainwave patterns and even gene expression.
That's right.
Like, really? Genes?
Yeah, genes. Which means, EFT isn't just making you feel better in the moment. It could be creating lasting changes at a really deep level.
So it's not just about, feeling less anxious today, but maybe actually changing your health in the long run.
Exactly. It all points back to how powerful our minds are, how much they can influence our reality, our bodies, everything.
It's pretty amazing.
It really is. And one thing that's always fascinated me about the holographic principle is how it kind of breaks down the idea of separation.
What do you mean?
Well, if everything's connected at this deeper level, this information level, then maybe the lines between us and the outside world aren't so clear after all.
So it's not just me trying to change my own little world, but realizing that we're all connected, all part of something bigger.
Exactly. And that leads to a whole other question. If our individual thoughts and feelings can affect this holographic projection, what happens when a lot of people start sharing those same thoughts and feelings?
Like collective consciousness. Could that be even more powerful? I think that's a good question for our listeners to think about,
Yeah.
as they start exploring EFT and the power of their own minds.
It definitely is. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's one thing you really want to leave people with today?
I'd say this. You have the power to change your reality. Might not be easy, it might take work, but you have the tools to create the life you want. Start by looking at those beliefs that are holding you back. Try EFT. See what happens when you start changing from the inside out. You might just surprise yourself.
That's great advice. I think we all have more power than we realize to shape our lives and our experiences.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today.